Hello YouTube, it's Veteran Mountain Man again, and I've got a problem. And that problem is it seems that we have gone full-on retard with this social justice stuff. I am sitting on a site called Wesplain, which is a pseudo-feminist, pseudo-intersectionalist critical race theory concept site. And I am looking at an article from February 25th, 2017. And the title of the article is, "It's Time for White People to Pay for Privilege, the Equality Tax." Now, this article has 568 comments and has approximately 42,000 shares at this time on the 9th of March, and has 65 hearts, which I guess are kind of like likes. And the whole premise of this is that white people are not paying their fair share. And when you look at it, they actually, in the section, talk about information from the U.S. government, USGovernmentRevenue.com, which states that this year, in 2017, the U.S. government is going to bring in $3.64 trillion in federal taxation. And if you go to taxfoundation.org, white Americans pay 83% of the federal income tax based off census data. So, whites will pay approximately $3.2 trillion in 2017. And their whole concept is that whites should pay 5% more. Well, if white people, who are 65% of the population, and actually, according to the census statistics from infoplease.com I'm looking at right now, they aren't even 65% of the population anymore. They are 63.7% of the population according to the census. And they're paying 83% of the taxation. So that means that they're being overrepresented by almost 20% of the tax being collected in the United States. And so this author wants to make it 25% of the tax of the United States instead of 20% more that whites are paying over what they should. And in the article, they specifically state that it doesn't even matter what it's used for. It's just important that we take it away from white people. Well, people, this right here is the same kind of logic that the Dixiecrats in the 40s and 50s used against black people in the racist South. This is nothing more than racism. You're wanting to increase the tax burden of a population of the citizenry based solely on their skin color. Now, you believe that they have some sort of privilege. And that's fine. You can believe that all you want. The second you start using that concept to shape policies that punish a person for having that skin color, you have crossed over from political discourse into racism. Because now, even under your definition, you are exercising power and authority over them, and they have a different skin color, and that is the determining factor. That even meets the regressive left's definition of racism. And I don't even use that definition. I use the classical definition. If you discriminate because of skin color, that is racism. Now, when you start looking at the comments here, it seems that even some of the social justice left are opposed to this idea. They are talking about to slap a white tax on people is just as racially disgusting as to ignore tribal distinctions in Africa and labeling everyone from that continent as black. Let's see here. Actually, overrepresentation. Perhaps we ought to tax people of color more. Why don't they just do it the old-fashioned way and rob liquor stores? This is a white majority country. Imagine if we decided to impose a minority privilege tax for allowing non-whites the privilege of being here. Same type of crap. So, a lot of this seems to be extremely negative about this idea. And I'm glad to hear it. Because realistically, if we start taxing people differently based on their skin color, we have broken the equal rights barrier and gone right back to segregation and racism. And you know what? I believe in the man that said that he wanted to see his children judged not on the color of their skin, but their content of their character. And he wanted to see a day when children of all races and colors could play together on the playground, and nobody would be upset, and nobody would say it was wrong, and nobody look at it in such a way that it was horrible. You know what? That's what this is. This is a pushback against that concept. And if you have any respect for Reverend Martin Luther King, and I know some of the regressive left out there are going to try to correct me and say doctor, but he graduated from a seminary school with a study in theologies. That makes him a reverend. Yes, he had a PhD, but he was still a reverend. He was a preaching Southern reverend that led a moral change in this country. This is not moral. And I hope anyone who is just as upset about this kind of an idea being battered around will stand up and say the same thing. Because if we start taxing based solely on skin color, based solely on groupism and collective identity, we are just one step away from living in an Orwellian Marxist world. You cannot tax based on the color of the skin. Otherwise, we lose everything. We need to stand up against this kind of idea right now and tell these people that they have gone too far. We need to get conservative thinking individuals into the universities and into the high schools and into the elementary schools even, and start teaching what we know to be right. And I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about critical thinking. I'm talking about rhetoric. I'm talking about questioning ideas, ascertaining differentiations, what real racism is, and not this made-up concept that you have to have power over another race to be racist. If that was the case, then you know what? There are more blacks worldwide than there are whites. That would mean that no white person could be racist in this world. You don't believe me? Prove it. Look up the population statistics of Africa. Add them to the population statistics of all the rest of the world, in all the different minorities and majorities. You know what? Asians are the largest majority. Look it up. It's really there. Well, I'm sorry I got onto my soapbox here. I know I don't normally rant about this kind of stuff. I wanted to thank Bearing for bringing this article to my attention, and I'm going to try to also get a couple of other source articles to go with this. before I post. I will also include my minds.com account below if you want to talk to me about this. Remember, like and share if you like what I'm doing. And as always, have yourself a good day.